Hi there, and welcome to a Fire Special presentation. Tonight's show is a special, the election final arguments. Just recently, we had an election, ladies and gentlemen, and it was a very important election of our future, as well as state and locals. So tonight, I ask each and every one of you to please sit back for the hour and enjoy some of the information perhaps that you have not heard, or the national far-left Democratic liberal media did not portray for you in order to make a decision whether voting for President Obama or Governor Mitt Romney. Tonight, first off, I want to thank you in Brunswick, Ohio. And this show has been recorded in the great state of Ohio, in the wonderful city of Brunswick, in the lovely Bat Studios. And I want to thank Matt, Bed, Ten, and the rest of the staff here for allowing us to come in and do this show. Folks, for you in Brunswick, thank you very much for voting for the local safety force levy. Police means very much. Fire and rescue is extremely important in our community. And I want to thank each and every one of you out there for renewing that levy, because when you're in trouble, the first thing you do is you call for protection, and you call for the police, or you call for the emergency vehicle to show up in your driveway, or if the house is on fire. So God bless all of you out there, and especially our forces. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, what you may or may not have known or heard, but did the media really portray this election fairly? You know, in the year 2012, did it really go the way we thought it would? You know, let's turn around and let's look at President Barack Obama. When his first term in office, when he was running for election close to 5 years ago, I was warning everybody. This Barack Obama studied under Bill Ayers. He was friends with George Soros. He was in with the socialist Marxists. Many people laughed. They didn't believe it. They didn't think that his policies were any of that. But where did this man come from? The national media built him up and portrayed him as a Hollywood movie star. Many around the world thought he was, like Sean Hannity of Fox News says, the anointed one. He was elevated. Some called him the Messiah. All across the globe, the world celebrated when Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, was elected for president. All during the campaign, we tried to warn people, be careful. He's not going to follow the Constitution. Be careful. He's going to push agendas down that Ronald Reagan warned us. However, the vast majority followed this charming, charismatic, overjoyed, bubbling, smiling personality. The world was moved. The students across America in the high schools and in all our colleges, they fell in love with Barack Obama. They thought he was the savior of our country. They thought that he would lift us out of the wars, restore the economy, get the jobs moving. He said he would be transparent line by line by line. President Barack Obama was the knight in shining armor. He was the Messiah. He was the hope of the black community. Over 98% of the people all wanted Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, as president. However, after the time went by and we drew close to the election, let's sit back and take a look what really transpired, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for those of you who've seen me before on this TV, I'm no stranger. My name is Dwayne Risco. I'm the host of the show called The Fire, going close to 6 years. I sit in for Pastor Ernie Sanders of What's Right, What's Left Radio, 12:20 a.m. in the evenings. Ernie's been on the radio for close to 40 years, going to Washington, D.C., Texas, Missouri, Kansas, and all through the United States, in trying to protect the Constitution for you and your freedoms, and to restore the moral fiber of America, of what's wrong in our world today, especially in America. You know, at one time, America, we were the shining bright star. We were the nation that everybody looked up to. Our morals were sound. Our economy was prosperous. And something happened along the way. Things started going bad for America. Liberalism started to rise. Socialism was sneaking in through all of our communities. Marxism is being taught in our colleges. As we look through the landscape today, we know that 90% of our colleges, we have Marxist professors in there. They teach that capitalism is evil. Really? Capitalism is what made America great. Why would our universities be teaching this? Then we turn around in our high schools. Our high schools now teach revised history. They no longer teach the Constitution of America. They no longer teach the Bill of Rights. In fact, they're moving us away. Where's it headed? Why, it's moving into a socialist, Marxist society. So if you just stop and ask yourself, if these things are true, go check it out. Do like I do. For many years, I study these things. That's why I'm on many talk shows. Folks, Marxist, socialist implements in our high schools and in our colleges, and then you have one who rises up on stage as Barack Obama with a Marxist socialist agenda. Can you see why the ages from 18 to 35 overwhelmingly went for this man? But we're going to get into this a little bit farther down the line. You know, as I sat back and looked at this election, what took place, I have the past 48 hours, it's been very sad for me, as many of you out there that voted for Mitt Romney, and I did vote for Mitt Romney. And I want to thank for those in Medina County. You know, in the great state of Ohio, Barack Obama did not win Medina County. Thank you, Medina County. There's a lot of you out there who understand what was going on in our government. You feared what was taking place, and you feared what's coming, especially through Obamacare. So for Medina County voting record, 37,841 voted for Barack Obama, the Marxist Socialist, the Democratic Communist Party. And for the Republicans, for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, there was 49,464 of you who voted because you love America. You love the Constitution. You like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You still adhere to the Constitution. That flag means something to you. Our boys and the women in the military who fought and laid their life down, and today they're over in Iraq and Iran and around the world. They're defending our country. It means something to you, and I thank each and every one of you for voting. The percentages was 42.5% for Barack Obama and 55.6% for Romney. However, what is sad is when we sit back and we look at the demographics, over 98% of all black people voted for Barack Obama. 98%. You know, is that not racist? You mean to tell me Barack Obama has the great answers for America? They said many things about us white folks if we voted for Romney. We'll get into that. But let's take a look at how Barack Obama won the electoral votes by a landslide, 300-something to 200-something for Romney. But the popular vote across America, in this country, there's 51% of the popular vote voted for Obama, and 49% voted for Romney. Now, there is a great divide in our country. 51% of the people see the country going the way Barack Obama wants to take it, into a European, socialist, Marxist state. There's the other 49% of us that said, no, we don't want socialism. We don't want Marxism. We don't want redistribution of wealth. We don't want our guns taken away. We don't want to help Islam that hates Jews and Christians. We don't want to fund them with all this money. We don't want hate speech on Christianity. We don't want the internet controlled by what we say. We don't want Eric Holder and Hillary Clinton taking our guns away. We don't want to be taxed every time we turn around to help bail out the government while the government keeps spending. But with that being said, yes, we lost. And yes, it was a very extremely sad day. That night I stayed up and watched all the shows. I am a Fox News supporter, ladies and gentlemen. I love Sean Hannity. I really respect Greta Van Susteren. Bill Riley, he defends somewhat of the Constitution, but Bill doesn't want to offend nobody. He wants to play the medium, have a vote. That's why he makes all the money that he does. But nonetheless, he is on some of the stuff and brings you fair and balanced journalism. MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, they were all in Barack Obama's back pocket. They wanted him reelected. Tonight you're going to find out some things that are going to be shocking. Let's take a look at this. How did Obama get reelected? with his record of a 4-year term. 23 million people were unemployed. 23 million. Over 43 million people today on food stamps. 4 years in this election. You gotta quit pointing your finger at George W. Bush and saying it's the Republicans' fault. The Republicans screwed everything up. The Republicans got us in war. Hello, yoo-hoo. The Democrats voted too to go to war. Hillary Clinton, John Kerry and all them. You know, they reached across the aisle. They went to war, okay? How about when the president promised that if he was elected, he would cut our national debt in half? And he said if he didn't get unemployment going, and if he didn't reduce the deficit in half, well, he would be a one-term president. What about when President Obama says when it comes to Planned Parenthood, where we, taxpayers, the government gives Planned Parenthood over $355 million a year to kill unborn babies because men and women are having sex outside of marriage, and some are having sex with each other's wives, and that's called adultery. So when they do what we call a oops, and they get pregnant through Planned Parenthood, you can kill that unborn child, and in a little while you can get back to your having fun, and if you do get another oops, you can go to Planned Parenthood and get another abortion. But we got to pay $355 million. Now, I'm a born-again Christian. I shouldn't have to pay for somebody's screw-ups. I shouldn't have to be paying for birth control pills. Do like Laura Ingraham says, and Ann Coulter, and Sean Hannity. Go down to Walmart for $10 if you're going to fornicate and buy your own pills. We Christians should not have to be paying for your pleasurable sin. Now turn around to EPA regulators. Under Obama's reign, the EPA regulations have been crushing big business. They've been crushing small businesses. So you out there tell me that you Democrats, you independents, how can you have an economy grow if you don't have new jobs? And if you have regulators crushing you, shutting you down, putting all these ridiculous regulations, how can you have new businesses? And I know there's some bobbleheads out there that's going to turn around and say, well, you Republicans just want dirty water and dirty air. You don't care about regulations. You're off your nut. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's putting it frank. Sure, you have to have regulations. Sure, so you don't blow things up, so you don't pollute the water, pollute the soil. But you know where the EPA regulators first came into existence, boys and girls? How about Germany under Hitler? And what did Hitler do once he got the EPA regulators going? Why? He wanted to control the world. Duh! If you don't learn from history, children, it repeats itself. And what about President Obama's term in office refusing to open the pipeline? Now, if you want to get the economy going, don't you think that would create a lot of jobs? Don't you think that that would really boost America's economy? Where was the national media pushing the issue with President Obama on these things? Why did they not go after him and ask him these questions? And what about the war on coal? Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, to name a few. Did you see MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, or any of those showing the thousands of workers that are going to lose their jobs to the coal industry because of Obama's promise that he would bankrupt any new coal-burning plant that opened up? Huh? Where were they? Where was Big Mouth Ed Schultz? Where was know-it-all Lawrence O'Donnell? Where was Miss Smiley, Rachel Dowell? What about George Stephanopoulos, Diane Sawyer, Brian Williams? Hello, Mr. President Obama suck-up. Where were you on these questions where all these people across America are losing jobs? Which means the rail industry loses because, you know, you have railroad trains that's going to haul the stuff out, and then trucks from there, all the economy that gets affected by this. Where were you guys questioning? But no, you didn't have the guts to question him because you wanted to play ball with him because you wanted him reelected, and you were holding all this truth back from the American people because if the people knew what's going to learn tonight, it might have made a big difference, especially in the swing states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Florida. Burning fossil fuels. Hey, how about this? Why? Go back to year 2002 and check out George Soros, John Kerry, Barry Soetoro, and the far left with global warming. Now, all your high schools are saying global warming. All your colleges are saying global warming. Thank God Sean Hannity about a week ago had two people on their show. One was a professor challenging Al Gore to an open debate where thousands of people can watch to prove Al Gore's global warming is a hoax. And I've been telling you this for years. I've been laughed at, mocked, and ridiculed, but so what? Grab a number, get in the back of the line. Global warming is a lie. You know what we found out about it? Through Sean Hannity, through Alex Jones, through other people, that global warming was a system set up that if it was ever pushed on the American people, well, they could do this globally because they use the words global village. They could make trillions of dollars a year through taxing everything. Hello. So what happens? A storm hits the East Coast named Sandy, and what happens? Al Gore comes along and says it's because of fossil fuels. It's the warming of the planet. I thought when the anointed one, President Obama, got elected, he said he would calm the seas and cool the planet. Guess that backfired, didn't it? What about Fast and Furious? The gun smuggling that came through Eric Holder's office, you know, your attorney general. How did the national media and all the national newspaper just kind of cover that up? Why was Fox News the only ones to press and push the issue? Mr. President, what's going on with Fast and Furious? How come we can't get these transcripts to find out what Eric Holder knows? Instead, what does the anointed one do? Why, he signs executive orders to cover those pages up so the House cannot get the papers that it needs to find out who was behind it, who gave the guns across to the dope dealers in Mexico to get our own border agent killed. Well, I'll tell you what's missing from that sentence, ladies and gentlemen. This was an inside plan that's covered up so those guns could be sent across the border so then they could turn around when people got killed without getting caught, because our border agent got caught, Border Agent Terry. They were going to turn around and use this for gun control here in America. They were going to say, we need the guns up because look what's happening. Well, it backfired and it got covered up. But where was the national media on that? Well, they couldn't expose that. Why? It might hurt the president's chance to get reelected. Do you understand that? Did anybody question anymore when all these things were going on, when Wall Street was going under trouble, when the banking system was in trouble, when the housing market was collapsing due to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac and all that? Where was our president? Hey, another round of golf, 119 rounds of golf. Where was the national media on that? Instead, Sean Hannity and Greta Van Susteren and Bill O'Reilly, they get attacked for exposing this stuff. What's wrong? Can't the president have a vacation? Can't the president go golfing? Speaking about that, what about the president vacation going to India? How many millions of dollars and how many people did he take over to India with Secret Service, CIA, FBI, and on taxpayers' money for this lavish, wonderful vacation? Could you imagine if George W. Bush would have done that? Oh, I could hear Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, Chris Matthews to throw up his leg a moment. Chris would be jumping up and down. Well, they'd have to give him Valiums to do a show. How about 800 executive orders that our president has signed? Go on the internet, check it out, okay? Which we do. We research all this stuff. Ernie Sanders, Tex Mars, Alex Jones, Dr. Peter S. Ruckman, Clifford Parks, myself, just to name a few, with Sean and his staff, which he has a big staff. There's a difference. Sean Hannity from Fox News, I love him very much. Sean, you got a way bigger studio. You get paid. I don't get paid for what I do, my friend. But I love the country just like you. That's why I'm on tonight. 800 executive orders. Go read some of the executive orders. Pastor Steele in Valley City checked them out. Pastor Richard Powers knows what's going on. My pastor, Mark Valeni, we see what the writing's on the wall. Clifford Parks, Derek Noel, we see what's going on in America. We see what's happening. The system is being crushed down our throats. And we're just getting ready for a North American Union. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful flag. It's a pretty blue with 3 stars. One for Canada, one for the United States, one for Mexico. And your president, Barack Obama, wants to be the leader of the UN. Is it any wonder we're at $16 trillion and we're in a train wreck going full speed and there is no hope in sight? What happens if we bankrupt and crash out? What happens to your savings account? What happens to your retirement plan? What happens to the money that you got hidden in the house somewhere? What happens to the value of all that stuff? Ask yourself when you watch President Obama on TV with Jay Letterman and Jay-Z, man, so cool and hip, and everyone's like, oh. and you forget about what's going on. You know what the trouble in America is? A lot of people are into pleasure. They want free things. They want the government to give them everything and take care of them. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you're heading down a different direction. But some of you are too stupid and you don't want to know the truth, so you stick your head in the sand, you go on, you think life is cool. The electricity's on, the gas station's open, the grocery store, you got your Netflix, you got your videos. Hey, you can turn the TV on, you can pop one, you can snort one, you know, you can go on with life. A little bit of that, you know what I'm talking about? That's what you care about. The rest of this stuff, when we come bring this to you and show you what's going on, we're off our nut. We don't know what we're talking about. You never heard this stuff. Let us continue. How about the EPA under the Obama administration allowed to carry guns? Folks, I got a lot to get to. I hope I get through it in this hour. I want to bring some things to you. What about President Obama defends the homosexual rights and same-sex marriage? He's made it perfectly clear that he is for homosexuality and same-sex marriages. George W. Bush tried to make it marriage between one man and one woman. As God said, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Our moral fibers of America is crumbling. Pedophilia, transvestites, homosexual, lesbians, when they come out of the closet, they go on TV. Every time I pick up the newspaper, I read a little article. One of the movie stars, they have just donated money for same-sex marriage. And next thing you know, the president and that movie star, man, they're pals. Hey, they're pushing homosexuality. President Obama hired a man by the name of Stevens to go out through the United States, through all the high schools, through all the universities, and promote homosexuality as a wonderful thing. Now, some of you say, well, I hate the homosexuals. No, I don't want them to burn in hell. If they don't repent of their lifestyle, they're going to burn in hell. There you are. You right-wing conservative Christians, you're the problem. I heard the same thing from the Democratic Party, that us Christians are part of the problem in America. Now, what about abortion? Why do so many people not understand that killing babies is murder? Why is our streets have been running and our sewers full of little innocent baby boys and girls that died because moms and got pregnant through fornication? Some of them have 3 or 4 abortions in the city. Most of the abortion clinics, it's genocide in the black communities. Why do we kill all the children like we do? What about some of the people that were supposed to be aborted that weren't, that lived? Go back and check the records. Franco Harris is a good example of the Pittsburgh Steelers. What if his mother would have turned around and says, you know what, I don't want you, get out of here, I'm going to kill you. God only knows, out of all the millions, we've killed more people through abortion than we did in World War I and World War II combined. I wonder what kind of outstanding men and women we would have had today. What kind of presidential leaders could have came from? What kind of beautiful men, women, and children? Perhaps someone with a cure for cancer or eyesight. We killed. Why? Because of pleasure, because of fornicating. We want to take our clothes off and bang our brains out. And then when a mistake happens, we want to kill it. But what happened to you preachers out there that forgot to preach about that? You give up on the tobacco industry, you gave up on the alcohol industry, you gave up on the pornographic industry, you gave up on same-sex, you gave up on all those things so you could have it hunky-dory, PC, both sides of the aisles, so you could get more money and keep everybody happy in your churches. You're not a pastor, you're not a preacher, you're going to answer for God, because those people are walking out your doors after all the years of bringing money into your house, a place of worship, and they're going to hell because you didn't open your mouth, you didn't warn them. God have mercy on you as the flames burn your little hides. Let's continue on. Folks, this national election has really got me going. How come the national media never seriously pushed on any of the issues during the campaign election? Why did they forget or cover up? Let's get into something very, very important, folks. Let's jump over to Benghazi. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, again, Lawrence O'Donnell, Ed Schultz, Rachel Maddow, Chris Matthews, George Stephanopoulos, Diane Sawyers, Brian Williams, where were you? You didn't say nothing about Benghazi. You know what Benghazi was? Let me read a few things to you. That's where U.S. Ambassador Stevens was killed along with 3 other Americans, in which 2 happened to be former Navy SEALs. Sean Hannity and Greta Van Susteren of Fox News, God bless you, because you broke the stories while the other ones shut their mouth. Folks, what happened over in Libya, in a place called Benghazi, the ambassador's compound, Back in August, there was a 12-foot hole that was blown through an RPG of some sort. Ambassador Stevens and others requested, we're going to need more protection. Instead, the Americans pulled more protection out. Again, Stevens and them were sending emails to the White House. And this was all broke through Greta and through Sean Hannity. I believe the lady's name was Judith Herman. I'm not absolutely sure, but stay tuned to Fox News and you'll learn more about this. She got onto the fact that there was emails being sent to the White House. While the attacks was taking place, the White House had drones up in the sky that was watching firefights from Al-Qaeda. The Muslims were attacking the compound. There was RPGs being sent in, mortar fire. There was a 9-hour firefight. 2 of the Navy SEALs called and requested to go in and help Stevens and the rest of the military, or the people that were at this compound. They were given orders to stand down. But these 2 Navy SEALs risked their life, disobeyed those orders. God bless you. May God take care of your souls wherever you may be. For those men to lay their lives down, they saved over 30 Americans. Meanwhile, while the firefight was going on, they were being requested for help, military help. The compound was under siege. Bombs were going off, gunfires. People were being shot. They were trying to get Ambassador Stevens. Meanwhile, you got a drone up in the air. There's actual footage taking place. There's audio tapes. While this stuff was going on, 2 Navy SEALs were up on the roofs thinking that any time that Italy or Egypt, they're going to send over some Tomahawks, Apaches, and going to help with the firefight and rescue these American people. Well, these Navy SEALs were up there. They had the laser guns showing, and Fox News showed all this. So compared to what the rest of them want to say, they're liars, ladies and gentlemen, with a capital L, liars. The Navy SEALs were waiting for help. Never came. There was no response. They ended up dying. Al-Qaeda, the Muslims, the peace-loving religion of Islam, put kerosene all around the compound and tried burning them out. Inside the compound, there was a metal cage to where Ambassador Stevens and one of the other people were in. The Muslims couldn't get inside of the barracks because it was so protected. Meanwhile, Stevens is thinking help's coming. Meanwhile, the firefight's going on. They're waiting for help. They're waiting for a command. Your president, Barack Obama, Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, where are you? Where's the help coming? Americans are being killed. They tried burning Stevens them alive. As the story goes, Stevens died. 3 other Americans, 2 Navy SEALs gave their lives. They waited for help. It never arrived. Where was MSNBC? Where was Big Mouth Ed Schultz? Where was Thrill Up His Leg Chris Matthews? Where was Brian Williams? Where was George Stephanopoulos? Where was Diane Sawyer? Do you know what the White House said the very next day? They said this was all due to a video. This mob that surrounded all the Americans, people over there, this was all about a Muslim video that someone in Los Angeles, South Los Angeles, made. Susan Rice, UN Ambassador of the United States, told Good Morning America and all the rest of On the View and whatnot and every other Daily America programs that this was all due to a video, that this uprising was the Islamic religious people became infuriated, incensed, enraged. And this is why they attacked over the video. So that's what Susan Rice said. That's what the White House said. President Obama and Hillary went by a microphone together and addressed that this was all an action of a video. However, they said it was detestable and there was no reason to be taking place for this, but it was the video. Thank God for Sean Hannity and Greta Van Susteren of Fox News because they broke the true story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a cover-up from the beginning. This has all been covered up. I've been watching for the past years, but especially the past month, of all the episodes that Sean exposed and Greta exposed with all her guests and former generals that called this an outrage, a complete disgust. They said, they showed videos, first of all, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when we got bin Laden? Here's President Barack Obama like this, Joe Biden sitting there, and they're watching the attack take place when they go after bin Laden. Oh boy, how President Obama spiked the football. I got bin Laden, I got bin Laden, I got bin Laden. Yeah, but you wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for George Bush's policies and Donald Rumsfeld's policies, now would you? But nonetheless, You got them. Congratulations. But you kept spiking the ball. Your picture was there. Everybody's seen you in your little war room. Where were you in the war room? Where's your pictures why this was going on and Ambassador Stevens got killed? Did any of you out there know that if a U.S. ambassador gets killed, excuse me, it's a declaration of war? 2 Navy SEALs killed, 4 Americans altogether, the compound destroyed. How come when Stevens did not, when he asked for help back in August, why weren't the Marines there? Why wasn't some of Delta Force there? Why? Why weren't they not? Oh, but you know why George Stephanopoulos and Diane Sawyer and Brian Williams and all them? Do you know why Rachel Maddox and Lawrence O'Donnell and Ed Schultz and them, do you know why they couldn't question the president on these issues? Why this took place before the election? Because if they would have forced the issue and pushed the issue, do you realize how many of you Americans would have been outraged? How would you tell your children? How would you tell your neighbors, the place at work, the place of church, what really happened, what this president and his administration with Hillary Clinton and all them knew what was going on? How could you sit there as an American and know that our Americans were under attack by Islam? You know, in case you understand, radical Islam believes the Quran, and it says to kill the infidels. If you're a Christian, you're an infidel. If you're a Jew, you're an infidel. If you don't believe in Allah, you're an infidel. So you know what the bottom line was? No big deal. 4 infidels got killed over there, according to most of the Muslim world. But your Americans got killed. There could have been help sent. Where was the Apaches? Where was the Tomahawks? Where was the Marines? Where was Delta Force? Where was some Rangers? Where was some help? Who gave the orders to stand down? Who? It's covered up. I would have never known this if it wasn't for Sean Hannity and Greta Van Susteren. But the rest of the media, they couldn't say nothing. It might cost them the swing state votes. Look at how close it was in the national election, 51% to 49%. They didn't have to die. They did not have to die. But they did. Where was President Obama? Was he in Las Vegas campaigning? Was he with Jay-Z and the Babes? Was he hanging around with Letterman? Was he on all these shows? Where was he when our Americans were getting killed? Where? What did this administration do? You voted for him. All these things that we talk about, 23 million people out of work, 47 million on food stamps, homosexuals being lifted up, same-sex marriages going up all across the United States and all the countries, and he defends it. He's embraced perverted sex lifestyles. Say what you want, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you would have been in the closet and stayed in the closet instead of coming out, because God has made it perfectly clear in the Bible, which some of you never read because you don't want to know the truth, but he's made it perfectly clear. When the leaders of the nation, we were a Christian nation at one time, 49% of us still believe it, 51% of you don't, but when you march out in the street and you tell God right here, I'm going to have sex with animals. I'm going to have sex with whoever I want. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to kill my own kid. I'm going to smoke my own dope. I'm going to gamble. I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal because I don't believe in you. And when our leaders embrace these lifestyles, he brings judgment upon the world, especially on the nation of the leaders. And look at what happened to our nation. Floods, storms, powder outages, tornadoes, earthquakes, raging fires, new sicknesses. But you know what happens? Along comes Weather Channel. Well, due to the upper jet stream down over here and the El Nino from the Gulf Coast coming in, this is why we have this hot and cold mass and causing all these wave actions. And then we have this low pressure system and the high pressure. Do you see how they sell it? Some of you aren't as stupid as I think you are. My God. Thank God for some men and women that understand when they read the Bible and they say when a nation turns its back on God and embraces sin and you march up and down and demanding your homosexual and lesbian rights and your transvestite rights and your right to murder your little baby, but you'll stand on a street corner and you'll want to kill anybody who kills a little deer, there's something wrong up here. when we have people who would write a bill and take a bill and write a bill that's going to go before, the House of Representatives, that if a little boy or a little girl thinks it's okay, 6, 7, 8 years old, to perform oral sex on either male or female, as long as it's consented, it should be okay and not a crime. What the hell's wrong with some of you? Really? And if you think I'm nuts, call Pastor Ernie Sanders on 12:20 a.m., 10 to midnight, Monday through Friday. The phone number is 330-901-09, 216-901-0933, 216-901-0933, and learn of some of the bills that's going on. We got a world full of slave sex. They steal boys, steal girls, ship them across. They take them in hotel rooms and they turn them into whores and pimps. Why? Because we got a sexual hang-up in America. Our TV's filled with sex. Homosexuals, lesbians, transvestites, they're being pumped up. They're being shoved down your kid's throat. Normal no lifestyle. Bring Planned Parenthood. Teach your kids how to put a condom on a banana. Teach your girl how to take a carrot and give oral sex. Hey, we've welcomed it. We've embraced it. TV is filled with so much cussing and nudity anymore. There's no shame. There's no shock. People sit in front of the TV and eat up like, what's the big deal? I know what you're upset about. It's on every time. It goes on all the time. It ain't no big deal. It's the same thing everywhere else. I don't know why it offends you. Well, I don't watch that garbage. Thank God for Johnny Risco, my dad. Thank God for Janet Risco, my dad. They says garbage in, garbage out. What you see, what you do. A lot of truth to it. My dad used to say, you tell me who you hang around with, son. I'll tell you what you're made of. You hang around with crap, it's going to rub off, and you're going to end up smelling like it, and you're going to be just like it. Thank God for my dad. He says, hey, boy, there's a hell. My mom would say, there's a hell, son. There's a judgment day coming. You can have your fun. You can have your pleasure. Go do what you want. Mom and Dad used to warn me all the time growing up. Drink, smoke, get high, fornicate, run around, gamble, steal, life, cheat. You get caught, chances are you go to prison. Then you get to spend time with a cellmate. And you become his lover, his jump toy. But then you got to deal with God when you die. Thank God I heeded the warnings and obeyed my parents. But there was a fear factor. There was a right and a wrong. In America, you know what's happened today under this administration? We have went so far left in thinking. 51% of the people says, I will follow Obama, I will believe Obama and not God. 51% of the national vote says, we're for what Obama's got to say, but not what God's got to say. Folks, it's real simple. It's like Derek Noel said, it's either Jesus or Obama, which one? I got a few minutes left, folks. I still can't believe that America voted the way that it did. I am shocked after everything that this man did in office. All his past failures, green energy stimulus plans, all the billions of dollars in this energy, green, failed, bellied up, bankrupt. All the money that he just threw away, there's trillions of dollars they can't even account for. Gone, missing. Nobody investigates. The national far left media shuts its mouth off. I am amazed. But I do want to tell you what I am grateful for. I still love America. The reason I'm saying the things that I do is because I see where America's going. It was once a great nation. Man, we feared God. Churches used to be full. People said, please, excuse me. They opened doors. They shook hands. They smiled. In fact, people went out of their way to help you without even asking. Sometimes people would do things for you that you might have been a little afraid to ask, but through their kindness, they did them because they cared about you. You were an American. Our morals have slipped so far. I'm afraid we're going to be just like Rome was. At one time, Rome was a great empire. When homosexuality and bestiality and having sex with their children and pride and greed, their hearts became so evil, wicked, and corrupt that they started killing Christians. I wonder if it's just a matter of time now, the way we're drifted, because we're following the same path of Rome. I wonder how long it is before they start killing Christians here. I wonder how long before people like me is considered the problem, a cancer, a curse, a Christian extremist, a Christian alarmist. How dare I judge people? How dare I voice my opinion? I wonder how long it's before I'm branded that perhaps we can open up some of these arenas and start throwing the Christians and bringing exotic animals to eat us like they did in the days of Rome. I wonder how far we are away from that. But I love America. And I hate socialism. I hate Marxism. I hate that our schools are indoctrination centers. I hate that all of our professors in universities teach lies that there is no God, there is no absolute authority. You know, when I hear a professor say there's no absolutes in life, hey, stupid, stick your finger in the fire. I guarantee absolutely burning will hurt, okay? Hold your breath and don't breathe. I guarantee absolutely you're going to die. Hey, don't eat no food. Absolutely guarantee you're going to starve and go to death. No such thing as absolutes. Big Bang Theory. Scientists say, we only believe what we can prove. And I say this, hey, stupid, where were you billions of years ago when this thing happened, supposedly? Where's the records of billions and billions and billions of years out of nothing? You know why you don't want to believe a right-wing conservative, born-again Christian? I'll tell you why. Because he believes in the Bible. Like our founding fathers. That's why they no longer teach it in schools anymore. Because our founding fathers bowed their knees to the Creator. And on the footnotes of the Declaration of Independence, they talked about Jesus Christ and the Bible. John Adams said that when we quit reading our Bible, we would fall by the wayside. Many of the formers who signed the Declaration of Independence and worked on the Constitution read their lives, how Jesus Christ was important to them, how reading the Bible gave them strength. A fear of God was a good thing because you didn't lie, you didn't cheat, you didn't steal, you didn't fornicate, you didn't commit adultery. You didn't have to worry about sicknesses, ruining marriages, destroying your communities. Whenever there was an uprising of stupidity, they handled it. But look at America today. You know, I want to congratulate Governor Mitt Romney. You know, the far left media slandered him. I remember a couple of months back watching Sean Hannity's show, and he had James Carville on there. And just as the show was winding down, Sean says, I only got a couple of minutes left. James Carville looked over from Louisiana, looked in that TV camera, pointed his finger and says, hey, Chicago-style politics, let's go, baby. Chicago-style politics, let's go. Do any of you know what that meant? That meant mudslinging, dirt, slander, vicious lies, and attack. Disgrace and destroy the goodness of the man. Now, Mitt Romney is a Mormon. Obama claims he's a Christian, but if you check the fruit of his trees out, he always sides with the Muslims and he goes against the Bible. So how can you call yourself a Christian? In the Quran, it's okay to lie to infidels. You can lie to us as long as you're defending Islam. So you take that for whatever you want to worth it with. But Governor Mitt Romney, even though he was a Mormon, doesn't believe that Jesus is God. But him and Ryan were clean-cut individuals. Governor Romney doesn't cheat on his wife, doesn't fornicate, doesn't drink, doesn't do caffeine, doesn't smoke, lie, cheat, or steal, or cuss. A good moral man. And if you notice that if you have good morals in America, you're attacked. Boy, the left mainstream media, they come after you. They mock you. They lie to you. They accuse Governor Romney of being a bank capital and having a woman killed because of him, because of an insurance policy. They ran stories on MSNBC and CNN showing stuff that Sean Hannity and Greta proved that it was all a lie. But everybody else ran with it to destroy Mitt Romney. They claimed Mitt Romney was only for the rich, didn't care about the poor or the needy. Oh, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan gets elected, Granny's going over the cliff. You're going to lose your Medicare, your Medicaid. He doesn't care about you. Romney's heartless. Romney's cruel. That's Chicago-style politics. It worked in Ohio, and it worked in Pennsylvania, and it worked in Michigan. Obama and them lied in front of the TV camera and says, he wanted to destroy you auto industries. He wanted to crush you guys. No, he didn't. Again, you guys are a bunch of liars. He wanted you to go through bankruptcy the correct way and rebuild it. Hey, go check out the history of Governor Romney's dad and see where his dad came from and what they worked together. Governor Romney went across America stating how much he loved it. And he had a plan to get our economy going. Not through all these EPA regulations that were going to destroy us. Him and Paul Ryan, they really cared about people. But the far left destroyed him. Thank you, Ed Schultz, motor mouth of MSNBC, how you said that we who voted for Romney were racist, hate mongers, Nazis. Through the far left media, a guy like me was considered a Ku Klux Klan, a Nazi, an extremist, an alarmist, I'm more dangerous than a jihadist. I'm a bigot. I don't like Obama because the color of his skin is black. This is what they portray. These are the ads that they run. War on women. Romney and Ryan, they hate women. They want to take all their freedom and all their rights away. They campaign dirt. They said Romney was the problem in America. Excuse me, Mr. President, you had 4 years. Where the hell was your plans where we're $16 trillion in the toilet, 23 million unemployed, 40-something million on food stamps? Your EPA regulators are destroying our country. You've got control of corrupt judges to pass all these bigoted laws, taking away our free speech, want to control the internet, and you're telling me that Romney's part of the problem? But 51% of you knuckleheads, you see nothing wrong with President Obama. You reelected him. You enjoyed his late-night pleasure stunts. You want to give me free stuff. The government give me free cell phone. The government give me free food stamps. The government give me free houses. The government going to give me a handout. Meanwhile, behind your back, they're passing legislation to take your freedoms away. But you don't care because your president's hip. Your president's cool. He smiles. He's lovable. You know, MSNBC, when Brian Williams and Diane Sawyer and Maddox and Williams, when they're with the president, man, they remind me of a bunch of high school kids that have crushes, man. They did everything but smile with the president, hug him, shake his hands. They did everything but put sucker bites on his neck. But when it came to Romney, they grilled him on his tax reports. They grilled him on the money they had in the bank. They grilled him on how much money he had overseas. They grilled him how he got his wealth. Excuse me, since when is it wrong to make money? Don't you think this is what can America use? You know, when the news media, the far left, Democratic, Socialist, Marxist, Communist media got done with Romney, I'm surprised his ass wasn't black and blue from all the kicks he took from the far left media. Congratulations, Democrat, Communists. You did your job. You disgraced the man. You slandered the man. You demonized the man. You made everyone think that they're heartless, evil, cruel. How dare anybody vote for him? We're all racist. Meanwhile, 98% of all blacks voted. There was pastors calling other pastors that were black, sending emails and letters, telling the congregation, even though it's a sin in the Bible, and the Bible calls homosexuality an abomination and abortion is murder, even though the Democratic Party stands on this, them black pastors were telling all their other congregations across America, you cannot vote for a white man. You must vote for your brother because he's black. Turn your back on the Bible. Tell God, right there, we're going to embrace the sin. So what did the black community do? And what did the rest of you 51% of the communities did? You told God, I don't care about your morals. I don't care about the abomination sin. I'm going to embrace it because I want Obama. And I want his charm, his charisma, and he would never do nothing to destroy America. We're going forward. The only thing he's missing is an arm and a sickle. I want to thank Governor Romney for running for President Paul Ryan. You've made me proud. You guys ran a clean race. I'm sorry you lost. I want to thank Sean Hannity and Greta Van Susteren. Thank you very much for exposing a lot of the stuff and waking the people up. We've got a lot of work to do. America's in trouble. We're headed down a path. We might never come back, folks. From a year from now, I might not ever do a show like this. I might go camping like Derek Noel says, and Mark Valenti says, I might go camping. They might be in a FEMA camp. They might say I'm a disgrace to society. I'm detrimental. I need a psychic evaluation because I believe in Jesus Christ and the rapture and the second coming. I won't do these things. There's a lot of things I will not do because I've repented and I fear God and I stand up for the morals. And I'm going to still continue to fight for my country and for your right. I'm going to fight for your right to worship a cow's wren if you want to. Okay? I'm going to defend your right for free speech to call me whatever name you want to call me. That's your right. I want to keep that right there. But when you start passing rights to take my rights away and not allow me to talk, Heil Hitler, or the now progressive, you know, this new movement, progressive, the fist, you see the posters? That's socialism. That's Marxism. That's communist. It's marching in your streets. They're in your schools. They're in your universities. Again, it's a sad day in America. I don't see much hope for our economy. I don't see 23 million jobs, even half coming back. I'm sorry, I don't. Not under this administration, not what I've studied about this administration with Biden, Harry Reid blocking everything that the Republicans do. Remember, one thing as I wind this show down, that you're watching the show. It's an election special. My name is Dwayne Risco. When President Obama was first elected, and he had all his chiefs of staff in a room, and then all the rest of the Republicans were in the room, and they all sat down together, the first thing President Obama did, ask John Boehner, I heard it for myself the other day, he said, President Obama looked around that room with a mean, stern look and told everybody, I won. Tell you something? It's his ways or nobody's ways. Harry Reid has blocked everything across the aisle. Obama says, I'll work with you. As long as you go with his agenda, he'll work with you. You don't go with his agenda, he'll fight you and attack you. But hey, 51% of you Americans, you voted. You said, I want same-sex marriages. I'm for the homos. I'm for the lesbians. I'm for the transvestites. I'm for the fornicators, the adulterers. Women, you can go get knocked up and get rid of that thing between your legs, brother. Don't have to worry about it. Hey, we got you covered. That's who you voted for. I wanted a God-fearing country. I wanted a country where I can fly my flag proudly, know that my men and women will be protected. Nobody will cover up. When they call for help, we won't tell them, stand down. We'll send military action. I wanted a military that was second to none. I wanted a president who wouldn't go around the world apologizing for us Americans. I want Americans that would turn around and give us free speech and not censorship. I wanted America that would fear God and not honor the Muslims that want to kill us. I only got a couple of minutes left. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I love this country. That's why I did this special. It saddens me, but I want to thank God for giving me the best mom in the whole world. And some of you should feel the same way about yours. I brag about my mother because my mother inspired me to write. She inspired me to do radio and TV. She says, Dwayne, you got a message out there. You believe in this country. A lot of people are going the wrong direction. You're right, Mom. And she used to say there's billions going to hell. She said, Dwayne, you've led a lot of people. You taught them how to hunt, how to fish, how to play baseball, football. You taught them all kinds of sports and stuff. You need to teach them about Jesus. You know, folks, whoever you voted for, the most important thing is, what vote do you have in your life towards God? Do you fear God or do you mock Him? Is Jesus Christ, do you know of Him or do you know Him? Do you just know Jesus as somebody you see during Christmas or on Easter? Even that, the far left media, if you've noticed, they've took out all the religious programs for Easter time and Christmas. Now we get the Ten Commandments, that's it. No more King of Kings, no more Jesus of Nazareth, no more the robe, they're all gone. Got to get rid of God, but bring in all the homosexual shows, bring in the lesbian shows, bring in all the diversity shows, say how we evolve, we're expanding out, we're growing more. Thank God my mom said, Dwayne, hold to the truth. Fear God, obey His commandments, warn your friends, pray for one another, help one another. Do things, Dwayne, without asking. Hey, you're an American. We can't help it now what voted. Maybe I should reframe this. I believe God allowed Barack Obama now to be reelected for judgment on our country. We care more about pleasure and greed and getting things like Clifford Parks, my wonderful nephew, who's a pastor down in Dayton, said, America's turned its back on God. They want to take their clothes off and fornicate at all costs. They want to get drunk. They want to get high. They want to gamble. They want to cuss and swear, lie, cheat, and steal as long as they don't get caught. There is no fear of tomorrow. And to them, America's so what? Who cares? Sad. But you know what? I know there's people out there like me, like you, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh. We still love this country. We care about this country. We fear God. We want freedom for all. The right for liberty, pursuit, and happiness, and justice, but justice is gone. I want to thank all the men and women out there who's ever served the military in every branch, the Coast Guard, the police, the fire, the sheriff, the state highway patrol, the rescue workers that drive the ambulances and come and rescue people, those who work at the nursing homes. Show more compassion. This is America. We have to be strong. Things are going to get worse in this country. Get on your knees. Ask Jesus to save you. Trust Him. Don't follow churches. Don't follow traditions. Trust Jesus Christ. Turn from your evil, wicked ways. And just maybe, God will send us real, true Christian leaders. If not, get ready for 666. The mark of the beast is coming. Canada, Mexico, and the United States merge into the North American Union. And then we become the 10 horn in the Bible, and it's just a matter of time before one other man comes on the scene, and he's the Antichrist, and he'll have the solutions. And you'll have to take a mark whether to buy, sell, or trade. The day's coming. Hey, my name is Dwayne Risco. You've been watching a Fire Presentation special about the election. I'm sad that Governor Romney and Ryan lost. Two outstanding men, clean-cut, honorable Americans that love the country. Nothing perverse about them. Nothing fake about them. True patriot Americans. But my fellow Americans, 51%, they don't feel that way. They've turned their back on God. They've turned their back on the Constitution. And they're following socialist, Marxist, Pied Piper. Barack Obama is their Messiah. How sad. How sad. Thanks again, Governor Romney. Thanks again, Paul Ryan. And for all you who voted for him, God bless you. Remember, say a prayer for our troops. Say a prayer for one another. I want to thank Matt for spinning the machines of the camera. I want to thank Bat Studios with Ben, Jeff, and Ted for allowing me to sit in and bring this presentation to you. And if you want to contact me with any hate speech, I'm more than welcome. You can write me at, just put The Fire, P.O. Box 26, Brunswick, Ohio, 44212. If I'm a lunatic, nut, dangerous, extremist, alarmist, hey, that's okay. I enjoy reading it. That's P.O. Box 26, Brunswick, Ohio, 44212. Thank you again. God help America. God can't bless America because we've honored homosexuality and same-sex and abortion. God can't bless this country unless we get on our knees and repent. I want to thank God for sending one of the best pastors into my life, Pastor Mark Valeni, who I love so very much, and Pastor Richard Powers, and Pastor Richard Steele, and Pastor Derek Noel, and Pastor Ernie Sanders. You guys keep fighting the fight, man. Win as many souls as you can. Again. I thank my mom, Janet Risco. God gave me the best mother and my best dad, Johnny Risco. One day I get to meet him again in heaven. Even so, come now, Lord Jesus Christ. Last but not least, go Buckeyes and go Jeff Gordon.